Hey guys, my name is Shai and this is Evermind Astro. This video is about the Ascendant sign in Capricorn, Capricorn rising. And this is very fun and exciting for me to be making. I am already learning so much about this before I even turned on the camera, right? I am finding when I'm making these videos, when I tune into a specific energy, I immediately start reflecting it in how I set up the camera, what I want to wear or not wear, how I dress, how I present myself for these videos. It's really interesting. And so for Capricorn rising, right? And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Capricorn sun. I have a Capricorn Stellium, a 5 placement Capricorn Stellium. So Capricorn energy is a super big deal, important thing for me all the time, always thinking about it. But I'm not Capricorn rising, right? I'm just not. So seeing how this energy that I'm so familiar with plays out in the Ascendant sign is very fun for me, and I'm liking this. And what I'm immediately noticing is, for example, I was not at all willing to put on makeup for this video. For all of the other videos on this channel, I have enjoyed doing my face up for the camera, right? And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm putting on makeup just to make this video, right? I was not doing it. And I immediately recognized that specific thing is part of how Capricorn rising presents itself, because I see the rising sign in my interpretation. It is how you present yourself to the world, but on a human to human level, on kind of a lateral, like what's right in front of you type of level, how you meet people, how you meet acquaintances, how you present yourself, even kind of how you present yourself at work, because that tends to be like an acquaintance type of, playing field. And it's how you interact with what's right in front of you, right? Well, there's more to it than that, right? But that's basically my general starting point for how I start to see the Ascendant sign. And what I'm feeling right here is that, I was not going to put on makeup, but I did want to look basically, clean, just nice and simple, like clean and clear and simple, and I just wanted to look like that. And I recognized that right away as Capricorn energy, because I'm like that a lot with my Capricorn sun, right? And I found that when I enjoy putting on makeup and when I enjoy dressing up in different ways, that's not my Capricorn self coming out. That's like my Gemini moon or my Scorpio rising. So really this wanting to just look kind of clean and clear and basic, but like a nice clean and clear, like even the room, right? That's the Capricorn rising, because it wants to present a kind of, simple is not the right word, but it's kind of just like everything clean and clear and defined and unembellished, uncomplicated, and just this, what you see is what you get, right? And but it wants to be defined as it presents itself that way. But what I'm also finding interesting about this, and this is where I'm really learning that how the Ascendant sign energy differs from like a sun sign energy, in that it doesn't necessarily like go all of the way, because the you should see my room right here, guys. I know there's like nothing in the camera, and I'm like just pointing it back towards the nice boring wall with the breaker box and all of that, and it's all super boring, but it's nice and like just clean and clear, right? I'm sitting at my desk. The camera is usually pointed at this desk, and it's just covered in mess. I have like tarot decks everywhere. There's just stuff strewn all over it, and I just threw a bunch of stuff over in that corner of the room. So I think that has something to do with the Capricorn rising. Because unless you have, this of course won't really resonate with you if you are a Capricorn sun and Capricorn rising, right? Or if you have other Capricorn placements. But if the only major Capricorn placement that you have is Capricorn rising, this might resonate to a certain extent, at least in some situations, where you might feel like you are presenting a more professional face, or a more socially acceptable face, or a more put together face, something like that, right? And it might not be entirely accurate all the way through, right? My whole room does not look this empty, right? My room is actually full of stuff and it's a big mess, but you can't see that, right? That's hidden behind the camera. And I think that's really interesting here about the Capricorn rising, because of course every rising sign also has its exact opposite sign on the descendant, and the descendant, that's the 7th house cusp. That is how you interact in your partnerships and in your intimate relationships, and that puts you in the Cancerian space in terms of your relationships. So you might find that with Capricorn rising, you might find, unless you have other major Capricorn placements, right, that the person you present to the world, the self that you present at work, and this with Capricorn, right, this really could easily play out in terms of work or your career, is quite different than the self that you are at home, like with your intimates, with your family, especially like the family that is your family of choice, right? Your very, very, very inner circle. You know, you might actually be a bit of a mess, right? Maybe you go to work and people think that you're so strong and put together and independent, and you are that. Like, that is you. That is true. It's not, this is, to be very clear, this is not about you lying or putting a false face on. It's not that, but it's that's not the whole story, right? That is your professional self, or that is your public self, or that is the self that you just, for whatever reason, that's how you fall into when you're interacting with the world. But then at home, in your intimate space, you could be, you know, you might come home from work after being a rock, right? Because Capricorn energy can really be this like solid rock, this pillar of strength, and Capricorn can so often end up being the pillar of strength for others, the shoulder for others to cry on, or the shoulders to carry the burden for others. So much of this, like, Capricorn can end up being like a doer for others, and with this sense of, I can shoulder the responsibility for others, and therefore I will always do this. And so you could end up kind of being in that kind of space with your Capricorn rising a lot of the time, and then you could come home and maybe you fall apart, or maybe you're way emotional, or maybe you like to dress in, you know, when you go to work, maybe you're wearing a power suit, but then you come home and you're in like a pink bunny, like onesie or something like that, right? You could be quite different. And I think maybe what I'm feeling here is, at least for some of you who are Capricorn, watching this because you're Capricorn rising, maybe you feel like some kind of weirdness about that. Maybe you feel like some kind of disconnect. I think if you happen to have a lot of Scorpio or 8th house energy, you might be okay with that, because Scorpio and 8th house understands that secrets aren't bad, that hidden things aren't bad, that there's nothing wrong with hiding, and some things are just private, and some things need to be kept secret in order to exist. So, you know, all of this always, of course, you need to take the look at the holistic understanding of your chart. Nothing will ever resonate with everyone with the placement, right? But if you happen to, like, you know, unless you have some kind of mitigating factors, I have a hunch here that a lot of Capricorn rising people can feel like maybe imposter syndrome is a good way to put this, or like, you know, you go to work or you go out into the world and people think that you're so put together, and people think that you're so strong, and then maybe inside you don't feel that all of the time, and then maybe sometimes you just feel like, why do I constantly have to be presenting this to the world? Why do people always come to me with their problems? Why does everyone always whine at me, right? Why is everyone always dumping this stuff on me? Why can't people take care of their own shit, right? You probably, with Capricorn energy, you know, and this is across the board with Capricorn, no matter where you've got it, there's going to be this element of pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This is how you treat yourself, right? And how you expect others to treat themselves, right? And this is the thing where people who don't understand Capricorn energy, if they have a bad relationship with Saturn, this can really trigger other people, right? I know this because I used to be a lot more like this. But it's that Capricorn people, right? We hold ourselves to extremely high standards, and therefore we expect other people to also hold themselves to a certain level of standard. But this is what most people don't get, is that we actually don't expect as much out of them as we expect out of ourselves. So Capricorn, any type of Capricorn, right? I guarantee you that the Capricorn expects way more from themselves than they do about other people. So there's this whole energy of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, be independent. If you have a problem, well, fucking figure it out for yourself. Like, and just like this Capricorn kind of like ideal that everything will just be handled by the self, by being more and more independent, by putting more and more work in. And Capricorn in its kind of low frequency state, right? This is why I say I'm still like this sometimes, because you never really get away from your Capricorn self. But I have put a lot of work in my life, you know, unwinding this a little bit, because of the Capricorn can get so toxic, right? It's so toxic when Capricorn says, I suffered and struggled, therefore you have to suffer and struggle, right? That is one of the most toxic things that Capricorn energy does. And yeah, I've totally said that to people. I've said, well, I had to suffer and struggle and do that all by myself, and look, it made me stronger in the long run. That's the thing. This is what people, like, if you're watching this and you have no Capricorn energy, right, this is what I would hope maybe you can understand about Capricorn, so that you can try to understand where we're coming from, right? Even when we're being low vibe and toxic, is that we really understand the value of struggle, even the value of pain and suffering, because we create realities for ourselves where we struggle and suffer and go through pain, and we ultimately see how that made us stronger, how that made us more independent, how that made us capable of anything, how it trained us into a state of resilience where we ultimately feel like there's nothing that this life can throw at me that I can't handle, because I have overcome all of these challenges through my suffering, through my hard work, through my struggle. But of course, the big toxic thing that Capricorn does is that we go, well, I learned the hard lessons about struggling, and look, it's done so well for me, so now you should struggle too, right? So even though I'm sitting here as a quintuple Capricorn stellium person, I would still say to Capricorn rising people that I don't think that mentality, I think it's outdated. I don't really think it typically serves us. I think there will always be a place in our lives, right, for a certain amount of struggle, for struggle in the right context, right? We do need struggle to grow. I'm not saying like throw that completely out the window. Ooh, but that thing that Capricorn does when Capricorn says, I struggled and suffered, therefore you should struggle and suffer, that I think needs to be dialed back quite a bit, quite a bit. And if you're a Capricorn rising person who falls into that, because it's like natural and instinctive to Capricorn energy to do that, I mean, you can just take a look, right? You don't need to like take my word for it. This is obviously just like, don't do anything just because I said it, right? But you can look at your life and see if that type of mentality, is that benefiting you and anybody, or like really, or is it a kind of outgrowth, overgrowth, or side effect of the Capricorn energy, right? And I actually think a lot about updating the Capricorn archetype. I'm actually filming this just after the Capricorn full moon in 2023. And, you know, besides me being a Capricorn myself, I attract a lot of Capricorns. I do private tarot readings for a ton, like it defies probability, right? Like a huge swath of the people I do readings for, like birth chart readings especially, but any type of reading, people tend to mention to me that they're a Capricorn, and it's so many, it's weird. I tend to think a lot about the updating of the Capricorn archetype, okay? The updating of the Capricorn archetype where, you know, as the frequency of the earth, as our cultures, as our societies evolve, and as consciousness evolves, a lot of this, I could say this about any archetype, right? About any zodiac sign. I could say this about anything, really. But I obviously I think about this a lot in terms of the Capricorn energy, just because it comes up for me so much, and it's going to come up in this video too, right? Updating the Capricorn archetype where it doesn't need to be this pull yourself up by your bootstraps and suffer and struggle and do, right? Because Capricorn can end up being the doer. We can end up thinking that we are only what we do, that we are only what we achieve, that we are only what we accomplish. And this ends up having a whole really fucking toxic thing where Capricorn can see, where we see success as failure. Like, how messed up is that, right? We literally see success as failure. What I mean is, like, we can be having some level of success in our life. We can achieve something good. We can do something good. We can level up some way in our lives, and really it is, by all definitions, by all objective and subjective perceptions, like, it is a success. It is something that we did. It's something that we accomplished. It is a good thing. And yet we can be so hard on ourselves that we look at that thing and we can go, that was a failure. And then we can just like shit all over ourselves, and then we start like, blah, right? And that is like a Capricorn spiral. That is a Capricorn spiral when we do accomplish something, but then we never think it's good enough, and then we think, oh, I should have just done infinitely better, and we just start shitting all over ourselves and then we think we have failed, right? And there's a trigger point for Capricorn, right? Feeling like we have failed, or that we have not lived up to our potential. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So I want to kind of bring this back around to how does that in particular, how would that play out for the Capricorn rising, right? Because I don't mean to make this a sun sign video, but how does that play out for Capricorn rising? So what I'm just kind of vibing here is that, so for me, a Capricorn sun, I tend to like, this is like really internal thing for me, right? Like I'll feel like I have failed and then I'll just start shitting all over myself for my failures, right? With the rising sign, since it has to do with how you interact with others, two things with this is you might actually manifest people who speak this to you, right? Like your thought forms, if you're sitting there going, I have failed, that can go out into the world and you can literally attract people who will tell you that you have failed, right? Or who tell you that you like, really you should have done better. Really you could have done more. Was that really the best that you could have done, right? Why didn't you achieve this? Or what about this next level? You could really attract people that tell that to you. And I think with the Capricorn rising, you might, there's a potential, right? Not for everybody, but there's a potential to be more concerned about what are people going to think about my success, right? Like if you fail at something, especially depending on the rest of your chart, right? You might actually, it's a little bit inverted, right? A little bit inverted. You might actually be okay with your success, right? You might actually be okay with your level of success. I was going to call it failure, but you might actually be okay with your level of success, but you might find that you worry about what other people are going to tell you or how other people are going to react. And maybe you're like, yeah, I'm totally cool with what I just did there. But then you might be thinking, oh my God, what are these other people going to say, right? What is my boss going to say? What is the public going to say? And it's probably less about like the people that you're very intimate with. It's probably more about people out there in the public, because there is this thing about Capricorn where it can be like the expanded society, right? It can be the people out there in the world that you're not necessarily interacting with all the time, but there's an awareness of what they're thinking about you, right? And so you might be worried more about what people will say about your perceived success or failure, and you could easily manifest people that shit on you, like literally, right? You could manifest that quite easily. So I think a final footnote on this whole updating the Capricorn archetype, because this is the first time I've really thought about this in terms of the Capricorn rising. What if we actually started all Capricorns, right? All Capricorn energy, and everybody, even if you have no Capricorn, you still have Capricorn energy somewhere in there, right? What if all Capricorn energy could present itself just more authentically and just... That's the thing, because I don't really feel like Capricorn energy presents itself in an inauthentic way, but I do think it tends to present itself in an unemotional way, in a this is my public persona way, right? This is my work self, this is my professional self way. What if you could be professional and relaxed and smiley and maybe even giggly at the same time? So... And you know what, you just think about that, right? What is that actually about? What did I just say? What is that actually about? That's about balancing the masculine and the feminine. Because I think still today, when we think professional, we think most of that energy is quite masculine, right? Most of that energy is quite masculine. And then when I think of like, me being myself at home, that's quite feminine. So I think... Oh boy, and this is like way too long of a tangent for me to go on in this video, but suffice to say that over the past few years, I have been kind of aware of, on multiple levels, a kind of healing process and upgrading process that Capricorn and Saturn, the planet Saturn himself, has been undergoing, and it involves rehabilitating the feminine Capricorn, right? And I see it as Blu-ray feminine Capricorn energy, even Saturn himself, and this is going, pretty off the rails for this channel, right? But anyway, I really see that Saturn is kind of rehabilitating his Blu-ray energy, and it's kind of coming back online, getting in touch with his feminine side, right? And that's affecting Capricorn humans, and a lot of this is going to be about, the Capricorn energy. I think as we've been experiencing, it has been rather incomplete, and because it's been mostly the masculine side. And if you think about it, the Capricorn symbol, it's not a mountain goat, which everyone tends to say, right? The most ancient symbol for Capricorn that I'm aware of anyway is the sea goat, right? Half aquatic creature, half mountain goat. And I see this as Capricorn goes on this incredible journey. Capricorn is actually the light bringer, right? The light bringer that descends from the light, bringing the light down into the deepest, darkest depths, where Capricorn would be that watery creature, and then ascends on this long, incredibly long journey, transforms so that he is half sea creature, half mountain goat, and continues to ascend. And, the sea goat, the imagery of the sea goat, right, that is half the watery half, the feminine half, and the mountain goat half, the masculine half. So ultimately, I would say, to make this, I have like 2 hours at least worth of opinions on this entire topic, but to just boil this down very quickly, the evolution of the Capricorn archetype would actually be about balancing masculine and feminine and understanding that there's a whole side to Capricorn that is feminine. And I would say that, you know, I just got to say, like, I do an incredibly bizarre amount of readings for Capricorn women, and this type of thing always comes up because I know, you know, as a Capricorn woman myself, I have often, like, for a lot of my life been either very masculine or been very androgynous or just kind of like whatever, right? And I've had to kind of lean into different aspects of myself to kind of rediscover my feminine side, and that's been really enjoyable, and I feel like, you know, I'm more able to be a complete whole person with more diverse life experiences, so that's been really good for me. And so I see that happening with Capricorn energy, like in general, Capricorn energy as an archetype. And so in terms of Capricorn rising, that would allow you, like maybe some of you Capricorn risings, at the time you see this video, maybe you will find that you can start presenting yourself in different ways, right? Presenting yourself in different ways. Maybe that's, instead of just wearing a black blazer to work every day, like I was going to put on a black blazer to do this video, but it was like way too hot, right? It's fucking hot here right now. Like I can't, even with the air conditioner going, I can't put on a blazer just for this video. So, you know, maybe wearing more colors, right? Maybe putting on a colored tie or a colored scarf, right? Whatever it is that you can wear. Or even just like, how can you express your Capricorn energy, that desire to be solid, that desire to be put together, that desire to be the rock, right? Because this is what you are as a Capricorn, right? And that ability to carry the burden. How can you do some of this just in a new way, in a different way, in a way that might seem, maybe it seems more silly, maybe it seems superfluous, maybe it seems just strange, like you would never have done that before. Maybe it will feel more feminine. Maybe it will feel more childlike or carefree. How can you experience some of these things in a Capricorn way, and how can you present them to the world through your body, right? Because the first house, the ascendant sign is on the first house, that's through your body. So you might find yourself tinkering with your appearance a little bit. You will still and always be Capricorn rising, right? Unless you get a new birth chart or something. But the way, like whatever Capricorn rising means to you can evolve, can change, and I think really is changing and will continue to change. And especially for those of you watching this as Capricorn rising, it's probably happening around the time you receive this video. So I'm going to call this quits for this video. I have a bunch of links down below if you want to get a birth chart reading from me, or I have links. I have a website where you can buy the reading. I also have an Etsy shop if you prefer to shop on Etsy. I do all kinds of tarot readings, right? And my birth chart readings are done with tarot. It's a combo of astrology and tarot. I love to blend the two together. I do transit readings, all kinds of different stuff. I have a different YouTube channel for Starseeds and Lightworkers where I go way more deep into weird, esoteric, strange, spiritual stuff. I have a newsletter sign up where every 2 weeks I send out the Astro updates, and my dog is barking, so I'm going to sign off. I'll send you guys so much love and light. Talk to you later. Bye.